Three, two, one. This is Nick,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is the Performance Plate Podcast. The Performance Plate Podcast is an intersection between nutrition and exercise science, presenting with facts and science-based research to help you optimize your performance. And today on this episode, we're going to talk about goal setting, because that is one of the things a lot of people get frustrated with. Can't speak. And so we're going to talk about how to help yourself set realistic goals and reach them so you don't set yourself up for failure. And Amanda's going to lead us off with a great exercise to help with that.
Yeah, so goal setting is so important when it comes to getting to where you want to be. Because if you don't have a direct path, it's going to be more difficult and it's going to, take way longer. So when we think about goals, your goals should be attainable. And I think, the long-term goals, yes, they should be massive. They should be the biggest thing you could possibly think of. But your short-term goals, I should, rephrase that. Your short-term goals need to be attainable and realistic. And they need to be broken down, I would say, weekly, monthly, quarterly, however you'd like to do it, depending on what kind of goal it is. But something that I love to, an exercise that I love to do with people is state the goal, figure out why the goal is the goal, right? So you ask yourself, okay, I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? I want to feel confident. Why do you want to feel confident? Because it is impacting my relationships. Okay. So you get to the root of why you're motivated in the first place. And then from that goal, breaking down the skill sets that are actually necessary to reach that goal. So if I want to lose weight, I need to know how to grocery shop. I need to know how to cook and how to meal prep. I need to know how to exercise, right? So these are all different skill sets. Within those skill sets, and this is what's key, and this is where you really want to draw your focus in, are the actions that support building those skill sets. So if you are someone that wants to start meal prepping, okay, what are the actions that I need to do daily or weekly that are going to start to support this skill set and are going to help me build confidence in this area? I need to make a grocery list. I need to get to the grocery store. I need to maybe do a little research on macros. And over time, you're building a skill set. And this is where a lot of people get stuck, because instead of focusing on those actions, they're focused on either the skill sets or the goal. And that's much more difficult without a plan. So focusing on the systems behind it all is what's going to get you from here to there. And this is where a lot of people say, set, realistic, attainable goals, as I just said before, and break them down. Small actions create big results. We hear that all the time. This is why. These are the actions. And that's what you want to pay attention to. There's this analogy too with cereal. I've seen it be done before, where someone has two bowls of cereal and one bowl is completely full of Cheerios. And they take, a couple of Cheerios and put them in the second bowl. Couple actions complete. Okay, cool. Doesn't look like much. You do that day in and day out, all of a sudden that bowl is filled. But it doesn't feel like a lot in the moment. And you've got to get past that.
That's the hard part. And that's a great exercise to do and it comes down to starting with your why. And it has to be your why, not someone else's why.
Right.
That's the main thing of like, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to lift more weight? Why do you want to exercise to the point of no tomorrow? Why do you want to run a 5K? Why do you want to do all this? Why?
Right.
And it can be simple. The answer, I think a lot of us get caught up in, we need to have this profound 17, sentence paragraph about our why. The why can literally just be, it empowers me. I feel strong as shit, I want to look hot, whatever it is, it can be that simple. If you know your why, you always draw back to your why. So when you're tired, when you're when you're trying to form these habits, because habits are so hard to form, this, we all know this, come on. Trying to form those habits, you're like, but then if your why is strong enough, you'll do it, what you need to do.
And I would say that habits in general aren't hard to form, because there's a lot that we just fall into. We fall into those ones when we don't have a clear path out. And that's why setting goals is so important, because there's so many things we do on a daily basis that we don't even think about. And that's what I think you were getting at before too, with the why is, what is your intention behind doing this? You've always worked out and you've always done these HIIT workouts, but have you ever asked yourself why? Have you ever asked yourself what they're doing for you? So, we kind of just go through
Mm-hmm.
and we don't think about the intent or the
Yeah.
why behind it. And that kind of segues into this whole idea of mindfulness, which I
Yes.
know you, again,
Yeah.
can relate to and know very well,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the human body, being mindful of how we feel and,
Yep.
get body scans and all that stuff another time. But mindfulness in the sense that you are always checking in with yourself and you
Yeah.
actually listening to yourself and asking yourself, what are my values? What are my goals?
Mhm.
Is this supporting my goals? Because we have an option with every single decision we make. We
Mhm.
can either build ourselves up and we get closer to where we want to be, or we can stay stagnant, or we can fall backwards,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
we always have that choice. And
Mhm.
I think, it's not going to be perfect. We're not always going to be picking the one that puts us forward,
Yeah.
but to catch yourself faster.
Yes.
That's what the goal is, right? To catch yourself faster and to, instead of letting yourself fall back. Okay, maybe I
Yes.
go back 2 steps and then I go forward. Then
Mhm.
I go forward. Then I come back. Then I go forward, right? And it's like, as long as you keep inching that way and you keep pulling yourself out of that, and
Mhm.
the only way you can do that is if you're mindful and you check in with yourself
Yeah.
and ask, what am I doing on a daily basis to support this?
Yes. And that's where they always say, I'm sure you've heard this, is like never miss 2 days. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like it's easy to miss a day. We all get caught up doing stuff. No big deal. Like you said, take a step back.
Mhm.
Fine, whatever. Maybe you're just staying level that day. Not a big deal. But try to never miss 2 days in a row for that reason. If you miss 2 days in a row, there's no harm, no foul, but it's sometimes hard to get back on this new leveling up performance, whatever, nutrition, all that stuff to get
Yeah.
yourself back on track.
Agreed. And I think that can be, I think a lot of times that phrase is used with workouts, but
Mhm.
it can be applied to anything. If you
Yeah.
want to start meditating for your own mental health, don't skip 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. You skipped 1 or 2, get back on that third
Yeah.
day. Do not, fall off of that.
Mhm.
As long as you are always putting your best foot forward and always giving it a shot,
Yes.
even if it's like 5 minutes, right? Maybe it's not
Yes.
your 20-minute meditation, but even if it's freaking 5 minutes, like
Yes.
this is what people don't get sometimes. It's not about the amount of time or the activity itself. It's
Mhm.
actually about the consistency and
Yes.
just building that habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true though. It's so to be completely honest with everyone, I have been off my meditation game
Mhm.
for the last 2 months. I noticed it too. And because I have this problem, this kind of segue into our next point of not doing too much too soon, and how to not overwhelm yourself is I get caught up in, and I know it's a bad thing, but I get caught up in if I can't do the 20 minutes or 10 minutes of meditation I want to do, I will not, there's no point to do it, which is
Right.
not true. And I've gotten better. I've gotten much better, but we all fall into that rabbit hole of like, I want to work out for 2 hours. Then you won't do it because you're like, I can't find 2 hours of my day to work out.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell? Like, I just
Even
can't.
an hour. Yeah.
Yes. So it's hard to wrap because you're setting your goal of like, all right, I want to work out or I want to work out every day. What does that look like to you? And if it looks like 2 hours to you and you can't do that, that all or nothing mentality is going to drive you crazy. Like it
Yes.
can be 5 minutes and that's just a walk. If that's all you got time
Yeah.
for, that's great. That's still a step in the right direction. That's still a Cheerio in the bowl, as
Yeah.
opposed to just skipping it completely because it wasn't what you thought it should look like.
Yep. Yeah. And oh gosh, I love this conversation because this is something I'm constantly asking clients all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you attract people that relate to you, right? We know,
Yeah.
you know that as a business owner and as a coach and a
Yeah.
PT. Um, and it's something that I had always struggled with too, was this all or nothing mindset. Like,
Mhm.
okay, if I'm going to do it, I have to be the absolute best
Of
and I have
course.
to be best ASAP.
Yes.
And in
Yesterday I
order
had
to
to be
do
this.
that, I'm going to just burn myself out, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and this is what I ask people all the time. Is it stemming from an all or nothing mentality?
Mhm.
Has it served you in the past? Has it actually served you in the past?
Yeah.
If it did, maybe it served you at times, right? I'm not going to say that it's like the worst thing in the world either,
Of
because
course.
sometimes you need that push to just do it, right? But
Yeah.
then is it serving you now? And
Mhm.
one of my favorite things that I always like to tell myself is I can do everything. I am limitless, but I can't do it all at once.
Yes. Yes.
And that always gives me some grounding because I'm like, okay, I have all of this time, right? And I think it comes back to this idea. I think it comes back to two different things. And this is what I've heard from clients too. One, not feeling like enough, right? That constant need to prove ourselves.
Yep.
So again, it comes back to intention. Why is this your goal?
Yeah.
Is it to prove a point, or is it for you and your values?
Yes.
Who are you doing it for?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. When it comes to why are you doing something? Second thing is pushing. Oh, this idea that we don't have enough time,
Yes. Yeah.
that we're going to run out of time.
Yeah. You're
So we
not.
need to do everything in this short period.
Yes. It's the rushed mentality.
Yes. And then we open up this conversation about, well, once you hit that goal, it's not going to give you the satisfaction you thought.
Yep.
The process is actually what gives you the satisfaction.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So enjoy it.
Yes. It's the same with, and schooling can be the same thing. When I graduated with my doctorate, it was like awesome. I felt so great few hours, wearing one of those Harry Potter type robes, dope as hell, so cool. But the process of getting there is what me and my friends still message each other about. Be like, yo, we did it right. We had fun.
Yes.
We had fun. We studied hard. We did it right. And yeah, that's awesome. At the end of the day, I got the degree I wanted. I love what I do. But at the same time, it's the process. And I think we get so bound down in the end result, like you were saying. And it's like, I just want to be there. I want to be done with it. And I want to do it now. But is that going to serve you? Now, don't get me wrong. It could be the ultimate goal in your life. But you can't say that. Let's say the ultimate goal in your life was to be known as the best, best runner in the world. Awesome. You get there, but think of the whole process, who you met along the way, all your training things, all the things you've learned, all of that. And like, that's a whole fun in itself, not just getting to that one moment. Because let's say you're in the Olympics and you're sprinting and it's a 3 second, 4 second, whatever long sprint, and it's done. You won the gold medal, you get the podium. It's a few hours at best. When you've lived your whole life for this one moment, which is amazing. But that's where, like, I think the knowing your why is, like, driving through, just knowing the process is so amazing. It's just like, oh, look at all the stuff I learned.
And then even relating that back to when we started the podcast, focus on the systems, focus on everything behind the scenes. You ask any, professional athlete, they're not focused, like their main focus is not, what their end goal is. Their main focus is on being better every day.
Yes.
And being present in that process. And even I think it's an interesting conversation too, around like the identity shift that can happen once you reach a certain point. It's like, okay, I did it. Now what? And you kind of feel lost because this whole, like, all of your identity was put into this one box here, this one goal. But if you're actually focused on the process and the personal development part and growing as a person through the process, probably not as likely to happen. Probably just going to go on to the next thing and be like, oh, cool. Now this is another way to challenge myself, right? And you're just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
And you see that with highly successful people in all aspects of fields, is their why is so strong. Their goals are always bigger and bigger because they're going to reach their goals. But it's like, this is just eventually your biggest goal, like your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals. I like BHAGs. It's funny. Eventually those become your little stepping stones.
Right.
And then those stepping stones are like, dude, this was supposed to be my dream. And you reached it. And now it's like, whoa, what do I do now? And it's like, you keep working it. And you keep working it. And because you built those systems and the foundation, you can get yourself to the point where you never thought you could see yourself before. And it's a wonderful thing to think about.
And it all comes back to those systems. Like, the other thing with those actions is the consistency is so important, because every time you do something for yourself, you are proving to yourself over and over again that you are worthy and that you are able.
Yes.
And that's, again, why the foundational stuff is so important. And going from 0 to 100 and then totally just falling back on your ass doesn't feel great.
No, it doesn't.
And sometimes it's necessary. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you just got to take those big jumps and you just got to learn from them, and that's it. But on a day-to-day basis, I think, you're much better off really focusing on all those little actions and building yourself up. And another thing too, even with habits, right? Because coming back to, okay, how the heck am I going to create a new habit? Habit stacking. If you've ever read Atomic Habits, he talks about this in there.
Book changed my life, man.
Yeah.
Literally changed my life. If like, if you're having trouble making goals and setting yourselves up with habits and stuff like that, seriously, this is no promotions or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm just
no.
letting you know, Atomic Habits literally changed my life. I
Yeah.
read it, and I read a bunch of books similar to it, but I don't know, the way it was written, for me, it just was like, it literally changed everything. How I talk to
It's very
patients.
relatable.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Very relatable. And honestly, yeah, habit stacking. Put
Mhm.
one and one together.
Mhm. So you have something like you think about it, and this is something I'll do with clients too. Walk me through your morning routine. Oh, I get up, I check my phone, I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I make coffee, I get dressed.
Mhm.
Okay, those are all habits. Those are all things you just do instinctually.
Yeah.
What if we habit stacked on top of that? So before I check my phone, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So now every time you go to reach for your phone, triggers right there. Oh, man, I got to take 3 breaths.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
silly, but you're slowly changing your routine.
Yes.
And over time, like we said, it just creates these massive shifts.
It does. And that it's the same thing with habit stacking. Is the same thing when you get to that point of just habits being stacked, you almost, when you don't do them, like I said, I've been off my meditation game, and I actually genuinely every day, like, shouldn't you be meditating?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I should be.
How would you coach yourself in this situation? Because this has happened to me before too, with meditating
Yeah.
in particular.
I just start small. I
Mhm.
know, I mean, it's at this point, I know what I need to do. So I'm like, all right, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. Start with a minute. And then I just sit there, I literally sit quietly for a minute as soon as I get just out of bed. I'm like, sit, eyes closed, minute, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Then build up from there so I can get to usually I like to do 8 minutes.
Touched on something cool too there.
I just will slowly start slow, and it's been like, I'm at 4 minutes now. I'm doing better with it. I'm stacking it more and more. Once I get to my 8 minutes, then I'll do it right before I journal as my morning routine again. So affirmations, meditate, journal, once I plug it back into where it needs to be.
You said something cool there too. Whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, because I think sometimes we're so attached to the outcome, and that sets us up for failure, because we're like, oh, I'm going to meditate. And after I meditate, I'm going to feel fantastic. I'm going to feel so focused and good.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen because maybe we can't get into that zone. Maybe we're having trouble getting into it.
Yeah.
And we need a couple more times before we get there, or maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of being attached to the outcome, saying, okay, you know what, whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do the action.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that can be a great reminder too, to let go of that a little bit and just do it.
Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful way to sum up goal setting, is know your why and just do it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens.
Said and done. Yep. Easier.
Whatever happens, happens, and don't be afraid to your goal look a little bit different than you wanted it to. That's okay too. It's like, set your goal, know your why. If you know your why, your goal will be the same, but it may look a little bit differently. But that's okay, because you formed the systems and all that stuff, and whatever happened. And look at you now. You got this new goal, you're leveling up, you're creating habits and patterns. So to summarize and keep it all together is, as Amanda said, habit stacking is a thing. So try to combine new habits that you're trying to form with things you already do, such as before you check your phone, take 2 deep breaths, or before, as soon as you wake up in the morning, close your eyes for 1 minute and try and meditate. Or if you're trying to not have coffee in the afternoon, don't be around the coffee machine in the afternoon. Things like that, little things like that can go a long way. And also, as Amanda said, know your why.
Yeah. And focus on your systems. If you're focused on your systems and your actions, you will always grow. You'll always evolve.
Yep. And one step each day is going to be better than no steps. So thanks for tuning in. It's been another great episode of the Performance Plate podcast, and be on the lookout for our next episode, where we will discuss more science and exercise and nutrition and all that fun stuff. As always, thank you, Amanda. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to record our next one.
Thanks, Nick.